Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to How Arts and Culture Shape the Identity of Edmonds. This is part two of a four-part Zoom series hosted by the Edmonds Waterfront Center. Today's forum will focus on the performing arts in our community. Our last session, if you tuned in, was on visual arts presented by Tracy Felix, owner of Art Spot. Tracy did an awesome job. And that was recorded as well as each of our sessions are recorded so you can access them afterwards. My name is Daniel Johnson, and I'm the CEO for the Edmonds Waterfront Center, home of the Edmonds Senior Center. Since the first civilizations, performing arts has been a part of every culture. And it's in that spirit that I want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Coast Salish tribes. The Coast Salish represent a large collection of many tribes with distinct cultures and languages who have served as stewards of the land and sea for more than 14,000 years. It is with great honor that we pay our respect to elders past and present. Our staff at the Waterfront Center continue to prepare to welcome guests as soon as COVID restrictions allow. From the very beginning, our goal has been to create a place where all generations could gather, learn, and celebrate together. And art is really at the center of much of our programming at the EWC. We are lucky we have a focus on permanent and rotating displays and installations featuring the art of local artists. Today's topic on performing arts is presented by ECA Executive Director Joe McElwain and former Edmonds Mayor Dave Erling. They both have very impressive resumes, but I always like to comb through a resume and look for those life experiences that sort of define their passion. And what you may not know is when Dave was only 23, he was hired to start the music program at the Shoreline Community College. And Joe is the founding executive director of our beloved Edmonds Center for the Arts. We are lucky to have these two iconic leaders in performing arts with us today. So the way that this will work is Joe and Dave will speak for about 25 minutes. Then we will open it up for about 10 minutes of questions. So if during their presentation you have some questions, go ahead and type them into chat or the Q&A. So with that, please welcome Joe McElwain and Dave Erling.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome and thank you. I want to begin first by thanking Daniel and Michelle and everyone at the Waterfront Center board and staff for the opportunity to share with you some of the rich history of our performing arts here in Edmonds, what the role of the performing arts are playing here in Edmonds today, and what the future may hold for the thriving artistic and cultural community in the years ahead. I want to, hoping to see my friend Dave here shortly. He's going to kick things off, but before he does, we are going to set the stage for you today by discussing a little bit of the history of arts and education in Edmonds, which is really, in our opinion, the foundation of the arts community here. We'll talk a little bit about, in our Raising the Curtain section, what are the groups and the artists who really formed the center of our cultural experience here in Edmonds, and the leaders of organizations who have been with us in this community for many, many years. So we'll talk about those folks. We're going to talk about what's happening right now in the performing arts in Edmonds today, and what the future will hold for all of our wonderful performing arts organizations and artists here in Edmonds. So I'm going to now ask Dave Erling to start our conversation by examining the arts in education here in Edmonds.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to be here and have an opportunity to participate in the really prolonged grand opening for our new community center, senior center on our waterfront. You know, I've been in the community since 1968. And even back then, we were known as an arts community. At that time, though, I felt that we were an arts community, but all of the knowledge about us was pretty much contained within the community. And you'll find over time this has grown and changed dramatically. We have a lot of talented musicians, talented dancers, actors, writers, visual artists, all here in our community. And we also have a couple of really important nonprofit organizations that are very supportive of the arts. So we acknowledging that we do have a large number of artists here in our community. How do we keep them? And how do we keep them over time, over the last decades? And I think that's part of the answer we'll try and get to today. Joe and I agree that the strength in the arts is focused really in one principal place that many of you may not think about, and that's the Edmonds School District. From the beginning, at least as far back as I can trace, our school district understands the importance of the arts and has put a real focus on it in developing their curriculum. You'll find, of course, that the arts really teach several different disciplines within the discipline that they are working with. They teach discipline, they teach creative thinking, they create knowledge of problem solving, and even in a few cases become public speaking experts, which I do not profess to be. However, one of the reasons we had great success at Shoreline, and I actually put in the opening comments, so I'll have to give them to you now. One of the impressive things about going to Shoreline was it was a program in its infancy. My first instrumental group at Shoreline had 34 players. By the time I left 11 years later, we had over 200. And part of that came from really two main school districts. That is the Edmonds School District and the Shoreline School District. They were really the core of the success that we had and experienced at Shoreline. But back home here in the Edmonds School District, there were several important people that led to the development of a very strong performing arts program. The first I want to mention is Bob Anderson. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard his name over time. He was hired in the Edmonds School District in 1946. And over the decades, he built an incredible quality music staff, which is very important to have successful music students. And then he expanded the program, even though he was a classically changed musician. He played in the Seattle Symphony. He understood the need for growth and change, and the music program simply flourished over time. In 1968, Bob founded the Cascade Symphony, which many of you have had the opportunity to attend concerts. And when we can get through this damn pandemic, they'll be able to provide concerts again. Their current conductor is Michael Miapovsky. The second person I want to highlight is Frank DeMero. Many of you, I'm sure, have experienced Frank over time. He's a wonderful music educator. He taught, of course, I first met him at Mount Lake Terrace High School when he was doing the choral program there. And I went to Mount Lake Terrace to recruit instrumentalists with Rick Asher's group. But over time, Frank has had tremendous influence. Besides the school district itself, he founded the music department at Edmonds College, known then as Edmonds Community College. In 2008, he founded the Snow King Chorale. He's also ran during the summer the DeMero Jazz Camp, when they would bring in vocalists from all over the Western Washington to learn about the vocal jazz techniques that Frank developed over time. And there is currently Friends of the Frank DeMero Jazz Festival. So he's influenced us tremendously. Coming back, though, to the main point is the influence that those and the other music educators gave to the Edmonds schools. It's amazing just to see the quality and quantity that they've been able to turn out over time. They have awards. You'll hear later that the Edmonds music department has been given a ranking in the top 100 music programs in the United States. And of course, all of you are aware that the jazz bands that they've developed go to the Essential Ellington Jazz competition in New York City, and they place and win when they go there. So it's an exciting music program. Of course, I've now talked about the Cascade Symphony, the Snow King Chorale, and a little bit about public education, but there's an awful lot more that you need to be aware of and have the opportunity to participate in. Again, this will be kind of a history lesson because many of the groups that that I'll talk about were founded some time ago. The first I want to mention is the Driftwood Players, founded in 1959. A group of actors and technicians got together and decided they wanted to do serious drama here in the Edmonds area. For 10 years, they had to find places to perform. And the reason they had to find places to perform was they didn't have a theater. And in 1968-69, the community got behind putting together a theater on Main Street, just north or east of 9th, known now as the Wade James Theater. Was completed in 1969, and of course it was a very important move forward for actors and the drama arts. They provide wonderful main stage programs, and while we've talked a lot about children, you need to know too that they do a lot of children education programs during the school year and during the summer. I want to highlight again the importance of some of the musicals that they've done. And I say that patting myself on the back because some of the people in the pit are former students of mine. So the legacy goes on. The next group I'd like to highlight is the Olympic Ballet School, which I know many of you in the community have friends and children that have performed with the Olympic Ballet. It was founded in 1981 with John and Helen Wilkins. And they were really distinguished ballet dancers, master teachers, and talented choreographers. John passed away a number of years ago. Helen continued the fine tradition until about 2011, and she decided that it was time to bring in some new folks to the ballet. And she brought in Maura Vinson and Oleg Gorbalov. Mara and Oleg continue to emphasize the classic dance that Wilkins began, but they also have many new creative projects they've undertaken. And it's really an exciting group to follow the good work that they've done. The next dance group that I'd like to highlight is the Barclay Shelton Dance Center. And here's our real history lesson. You can see on your screen in the upper left that it was founded actually in 1929, premiered by George and Florence Barclay, who were new arrivals in the Seattle area from Australia. And they opened in the heart of Seattle, the Barclay Studios of Dance. Very successful over time, eventually moved some additional programs into some of our suburbs. The funny thing that struck me is that they were so proud of what the work they've done and the good work that they've done When some of our veterans would return from wars on ships, like World War II, they would send the can-can dancers down to the piers to perform for the people as they arrived from Europe. Very important and a fine tradition they built. One of the suburban locations that they chose was Edmonds, Washington. And they were in place until 1978, when Florence decided to retire, and she brought aboard Leanne Shelton, and thus the Barclay Shelton Studios were born. They still have the studio over on Bell Street. They've done wonderful work. You can see some of the happy faces. That's Leanne Shelton in the large group of people in the middle on the far right. But Leanne was in charge of the facility until the last couple of years, when she decided it was time to step back. She still teaches there, but she turned the reins over to Nicole Cox and Stacy Brown. Very successful. My daughter, my granddaughter went through their programs, and it's just marvelous to see the success that they've achieved. How do you get all of those arms and heads aligned in that many people in the picture on the right? I have no idea. The last group that I'd like to mention is a group that was actually originated in 1988. You may know it as the Edge of the World Theater. And they were in place for 10 years. And just in 2008, turned it over to the people that founded the Phoenix Theater. And if you know where that's at, it's down on the county line in Firdale Village. They have really a fun approach that they use. They use humor a great deal in their performances. And they do it really on purpose to illuminate some of the common issues we have to deal with in humanity. It's really it's a great performance group. I hope you get a chance to look at that. You know, over the years, our community and our city government has really stepped forward to participate in the development of the arts. The people at the city, and I can say this when I was mayor, we understood that there was so much positive for the community to have a focus, and a focus is easy to put on the arts with the number of groups we have and some of the success we've had in the last few decades. Ladies and gentlemen, I can say to you, the groups, the individuals, all of the people have really put together an enormous program in our city. You're going to hear more of it now. And after all of these years, I can say without equivocation, yes, Edmonds is a city for the arts. Thanks very much.
And I'd like to continue on with Dave's theme. I think it's really important that we recognize and thank our city leaders over many, many years, because the city of Edmonds would not be as rich with the culture that we have to explore and enjoy here without their ongoing support and their own engagement and their own investment in the arts over time. On your screen, you're looking at just a few of the programs that the city of Edmonds actually itself presents, and that's done through the Edmonds Arts Commission with the leadership of my great friend Frances Chapin, who's been the cultural services manager there for many years. And she procures the performing artists that perform at the summer concert series in the park. She curates the performances that we now get to enjoy at Hazel Miller Plaza, and also a music program that she puts together in the not summer months, the other months, in partnership with the Edmonds Library. We also have a number of other groups in the community who take their own initiative and present their own programs of performing arts. And I want to acknowledge some of those right now. The first is Edmonds Arts Festival. In addition to the amazing visual arts program that they put forward every summer, they also have an outdoor stage that they program performances all day long, each day of the festival. And that's music and dance and more. We have the Edmonds Daybreakers Rotary Club. They have been a great partner to us at Edmonds Center for the Arts because we've been able to host a portion of that amazing day in our facility, usually the big bands. But you can find on that day in May every year, bands, combos, vocalists playing all over the place, the Edmonds Theater and other locations. So they've been really fun to work with. And that program is a free opportunity for music students to come and perform with not being adjudicated, not competing, just celebrating the work that they're doing each year, which I really appreciate. The Edmonds Chamber of Commerce, of course, does the Taste of Edmonds every year. We get to see musicians from all over the community come and play their main stage. The Port of Edmonds does a really great program, again, celebrating the local students, local music students, and putting on their Sea Jazz program on the waterfront. And the Edmonds Historical Museum also gives us lots of great roaming musicians during the course of the Saturday market, which we appreciate as well. And so what's happening now? The city of Edmonds just continues to grow and expand and change and evolve in the way we present the performing arts to you and the way we celebrate the arts with you. And I can say that I've been very, very proud because I've had the opportunity to be a part of, relatively speaking, with the discussion we've had today, sort of a brand new performing arts organization in Edmonds Center for the Arts. This project came about, it was driven by the many community groups and arts leaders that we've already mentioned today. It was made possible through a commitment also by the city of Edmonds. And this unique opportunity was also fed in part by the state legislature in 2000 when it opened up the opportunity to create what are called public facilities districts. And we were given the chance to acquire and renovate the beautiful, historic, iconic Edmonds, original Edmonds High School auditorium into what we now call Edmonds Center for the Arts. It's been my great pleasure to be a part of the amazing team of board members, staff members, and volunteers who have made ECA what it is today. And this is a list of the things that we do. We bring artists from around the world to Edmonds to perform for you in our main stage season. We are a home for all of the amazing arts groups that have been mentioned today and many, many others. We also present our own education and outreach programs that we're very proud of, and I'll talk about in a moment. And it's our job to take care of that beautiful campus that we inherited that dates all the way back to 1910 and was really the center of education for the city of Edmonds for decades. And of course, our goal is to also bring people to town and generate economic activity and tourism for the city. This is just a short list of the more than 400 artists who have graced the ECA stage through our main stage presenting artist series. I think some of those names might resonate with you. Maybe some of you had the opportunity to see some of those great performers on our stage. I still sometimes myself am a little bit in awe of the number and scope and quality of the amazing touring artists we've been able to bring to town for you. Equally important and making us equally proud is our role as a host to so many amazing arts organizations and artists, but also, as you can see, many other types of organizations that use our facility to gather and celebrate and be together. The ones in yellow that are highlighted are the ones we've discussed today, but as you can see, there's a great list of community organizations, not just from Edmonds, but from around the region, who come to our facility to do their work. And our education and outreach programs. We bring artists to the stage for student matinee programs, artists out into the schools for lectures and demonstrations and interactive workshops. We do workshops for teachers to help them learn how to integrate the arts into their curriculum. We have our Dementia Inclusive series, which provides arts experiences to help improve the lives of people living with memory loss and their caregivers. We have summer camps. We have so much more. I love what we do at Edmonds Center for the Arts. I also want to just recognize and mention the education and outreach programs that many of the organizations we've talked about today also provide, like Driftwood Players, Phoenix Theater, Cascade Symphony, the DeMiro Jazz programs. We all strive to partner with the Edmonds School District and many of the public and private schools to help bring, around the region, to help bring the arts training experiences to students and seniors in our community. And I mentioned briefly the economic impact and the tourism. In 2017, the City of Edmonds commissioned Burke Consulting Group in partnership with Advise Arts to conduct a study of the economic impact of the arts and the creative industries in our city. The study revealed that our sector generates nearly $50 million of economic impact annually in the City of Edmonds, and it attracts broad audiences from throughout the Puget Sound region and sometimes beyond. I can say at Edmonds Center for the Arts, we've seen people come from Canada and California and Florida to see certain artists. In fact, the arts organizations in Edmonds combined will draw more than 200,000 people each year to this community for our events and celebrations. And those people spend time in Edmonds before and after the shows that they attend, and they spend money in our amazing restaurants and galleries and shops that this community has to offer. The City of Edmonds was also recently named Washington's first creative district. Governor Jay Inslee announced in 2018 that Edmonds was selected as the very first, which is a designation that recognizes both existing strengths of our creative sector as well as the progress and enhancements that we do plan to make over the next many years. I should mention that if anyone would like to engage and provide input into that process, how do we build the creative district and leverage that designation for growth and change, I want to just mention that the Creative District Advisory Committee has been formed. There are 19 members right now, and on the city's website, you can find information to engage in this process and join us in that work. I also want to mention one of the central tenets of the creative district and what we really hope to try to move forward in the next 2 to 3, 4 years is the 4th Avenue Cultural Corridor. This is a concept that we've been working on for quite a few years now, a little more than a decade. And we're so ready to make this happen. The key purpose of this project is to make this important pedestrian connection between downtown Edmonds' premier arts and culture venue, Edmonds Center for the Arts, to the restaurants, shops, and services of the Main Street and the heart of downtown Edmonds. This will in turn help maximize the connectivity between downtown and Edmonds Center for the Arts. But another important purpose is to create a special linear avenue that could accommodate celebrations, events, art, and yes, performances. Edmonds Center for the Arts and others could program that space to really celebrate the performing arts as much as we celebrate the visual arts in that corridor. So I want to thank you for listening today. I also want to acknowledge and recognize I had some really wonderful slides I wanted to share with you that I forgot to share my screen. We will share the slides so you can see some of the wonderful pictures, because the one I'm most disappointed that you didn't get to see was Dave Earling in his early years preparing to be a teacher. The red hair was shocking and exciting. So I hope you will go back and review our slides so you can see some of the great images from the performing arts organizations and those leaders, particularly the music programs we mentioned, because there's some wonderful history there that I'd love for you to see. And thank you all very much for your time. And Daniel, will hand it up to you.
Joe, thank you. And Dave, thank you both for what a great presentation. It's kind of mind-boggling the amount of art opportunities in this community. But not only is there art for us to consume, but I was struck by the number of citizens who participate themselves in the art. So it's really an extraordinary place to live. We do have some questions, and we have a little bit of time here. So the first question, which I think is on many people's minds, is: will music be coming back to the Edmonds City Park this summer?
I will try to answer that for Francis Chapin, who and the Arts Commission, who manage that particular piece of what we do. I think like Edmonds Center for the Arts and all of us, we are really ready to get back to presenting the community with performing arts, especially in our outdoor spaces. I am receiving word right now that we may not be able to bring the music yet back to City Park. But I can tell you that Edmonds Center for the Arts will be having a summer series that we're going to be presenting and we'll be announcing later in May that will include 3 performances just outside of our building as a starting place, as an opportunity to get back to gathering and celebrating and hearing music together again. So I know that is on our plan at this point, and I know Francis and the city are working hard to figure out how they can also get the music back into the park.
Great. I also want to share a comment that came in. It's not a question, but just saying what an excellent job both of you did on your presentation. So I'm passing that on. But there is a version of the last question, which was, when do you think the ECA can reopen, given what we know about the pandemic currently? I know that's kind of a loaded question.
Well, yes, and I think what I can tell you is that we are beginning sort of what we're calling our reemergence over the summer months. We're going to have a celebration, a fundraiser on May 19th called Spark, and we're calling it Spark because it's going to give us the opportunity to start that path forward. We have a series of 9 presentations we're going to be bringing to the community over the summer months. And then we're crossing our fingers that come fall, we'll be able to welcome people back into our facility. Now, always in a safe way that will be, predicated on so many things that are out of our control. But our team is just so eager to welcome you all home. And I know we're not alone. I know all the organizations, Driftwood and Phoenix and everybody, we're all ready to see you back in our buildings. And so please hang in there with us. We can't wait to have you back.
Joe, this question is directed towards you, and that is, what have you learned, you and your team, from this experience living through this pandemic? Will you do anything different having had this experience going forward?
Well, I think why don't I start by saying one of the things we learned, and I'm sure many of the other organizations in town have also learned this, that this community is incredible and supportive. Somehow, some way, we have made it this far through the pandemic, despite our inability to do what we do best, which is present and host live performances. Even despite that, our community has said they care about us. They want us to survive. They want us to get to the other side, and contributions from our community have really made that possible. So I am grateful to everybody for that. We've also learned that we can stay connected. We can stay connected through things like this, through Zoom experiences, through broadcast performances, through our events that we can broadcast from the stage itself. And I think that in the future, some level of broadcast and interactivity online will probably be a part of what we do. Some people can't come to the theater all the time. It would be great if we could provide access to some of those experiences, through a broadcast format. But I would argue still that one of the things we've also learned is that you can't replace live performance, no matter how you do it, no matter how hard you try to replicate an experience through screens. Even if it's a live performance, it just is not the same unless you're in that room. So that's the other thing we've learned, is how much it matters and how much we miss it. And we we're looking forward to getting back to that place.
Well, we have run out of time. Thank you again, Dave and Joe. What a great discussion. I do want to just mention to everyone that we have two final Zoom sessions as part of this art series. There's one on May 12th, which is focused on literary art. And that's going to be presented by David Brewster, who's co-owner of the Edmonds Bookshop. And then on May 26th, mark your calendar for outdoor art. And that's going to be presented by Francis Chapin, the Arts and Culture Manager for the City of Edmonds. So we look forward to seeing you again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.